Crystal Tower Information Whiskey 21530 Zulu, wind 060 at 5.
076 Mike Juliet, this is departure radar contact.
Hazardous weather information from Minnesota available on flight service frequency.
You've dialed in the Flying Midwest podcast, connecting aviators from across America's heartland, sharing news, information, and events from around the region.
Calling Nancy 53 on Overtower, Roger, turn left heading 070, runway 9er, clear for takeoff.
Sit back, relax, and join our crew for some hangar talk as we discuss a wide variety of regional aviation topics.
Departure 71143, flying flag, runway 28 left, quick takeoff, left hand southbound first.
And now, from our home at the Anoka County Blaine Airport, our checklist is complete, and we're ready for departure for another episode of the Flying Midwest podcast.
Contact departure, every flight.
What is going on, everyone? Jim here with the Flying Midwest podcast. So happy you're able to join us. On this episode, we're talking about charitable fly-ins with FInley and Brittany Griffin with the Columbia Regional Airport in Missouri. They've hosted a series of successful fly-ins, and we learned how they brought it all together. And as always, news, information, and events from around the region, with some friendly hangar talk along the way. So strap in and let's take off into this episode of the Flying Midwest podcast.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, Trevor.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm having fun ignoring Maddie because, I mean, let's face it, she was the only one out of the three of us that went to Oshkosh.
She was. I kind of want to ignore her too, but she also did a lot of networking on her behalf, and she made some great connections out there. And I want to hear what she has to say.
I'll allow it.
Okay. Hi, Maddie.
Hi, Jim.
Back from the week of wonderful aviation, Airventure 2022.
So, Maddie, the moment that we've been dying for, tell us all about your experience at Oshkosh.
I had a really good time. I did a lot of things. I both networked for the podcast.
We appreciate that.
No problem. I was shilling my own little envelopes that went hand in hand. I just threw things at people. It was great. And I met a lot of awesome people, and I found several who would like to be on the podcast. So I'm very excited for that.
Great.
Few notable mentions. Got to meet a longtime listener, the Badger Pilot, based out of Wisconsin.
What's up, Badger Pilot?
Thanks for listening to us and giving us all your support. Also, while I was there, I got to see my friend Sarah, who lives in Kansas. So that is part of the Midwest.
Now, did you tell her that you're on a podcast? Because your last friend we talked to didn't know you had a podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
She does know. I gave her a shirt. I'm not sure if she wore it. Sarah, please wear the shirt. But yes, Hannah will, even though she's not Midwestern, she will listen to the podcast. Very
Sweet.
excited about that. I met up with the gal who writes all of the flight training materials for Jeppesen. Her name is Liz. She's awesome. I've met her before, but she actually helped me personally pass my instrument. So that was really cool. And I got to meet up again with her and tell her of all of my accomplishments and things. And it was really awesome. Got to meet up with her a couple times, and she expressed interest about being on the podcast. More to come on that later. There's some things that are happening. Very exciting.
Ooh, I like the suspense.
Yeah, I am too. I'm enjoying the suspense. Another fun non-Midwestern notable mention was Captain Joe. I got to meet Captain Joe from Germany. He was wonderful. Excellent conversationalist.
He's got a really good channel. I actually
Oh my gosh, I love watching him. It was really cool to meet Captain Joe. It was the only time that I met somebody that I was simply just a fan of. I feel like Brian's a friend of the channel now, so he's not necessarily just somebody I enjoy on the internet. But it was cool. It was really cool to meet him in person. It was totally random. I was actually talking to Andrew, the Badger Pilot, at the Cirrus booth, and we were chatting, and he's just like, yeah, I just met a Captain Joe. I was like, Captain Joe? And he's like, yeah, he's over there in the white t-shirt, the most generic outfit ever. I'm like, really? And he calls him over, and I'm like, I was gonna melt into my shoes. And he was super nice. We talked for 15 minutes, which I'm sure sucked up that was a lot of valuable time for him. But Like he was really great, and he was just hanging out and doing his thing, and it was cool to see. So last but not least, I met up with Brian Turner in the flesh. Finally, very exciting time. We went out to dinner with a couple other YouTubers.
Yep. Fire pilot.
Yep, the fire pilot being one of them. He was very nice. And his wife.
He said you're very memorable.
Yeah, they wanted me to go out to the SOS Rose tent, and I did not do that. So I'm sure Brian's still mad at me. Yes, I am super lame. I didn't go out to the beer tent. I was there with my dad, as usual. If you don't know, it is our annual pilgrimage out to Wisconsin. My dad and I go every year. It's kind of our thing. So yeah, I want to spend as much time with him there as possible, especially now that I moved out, which is a life event that I am now announcing. I live in Kansas now.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah.
Welcome to Kansas, which is part of the Midwest.
Still.
Yes, it is part of the Midwest officially. Back to Oshkosh. Oshkosh was absolutely incredible. I was there Sunday through Friday. I left Friday morning, which was pretty long. Saturday evening, we had the storm trademark.
Yep, the Oshkosh Storm. It came early.
Yeah, it came early. The whole week was actually pretty nice.
The whole week was beautiful.
Official Oshkosh was pretty nice.
Right. But the Saturday, that storm was scary. My dad and I weren't sure if the tent would survive the storm, and we were inside it. So this is a little terrifying. The straight line winds were intense. It was very scary for about 30 minutes with the winds. Even though we held up the tent, it still snapped a couple poles. It was intense. Like I was sitting on the floor in the middle of the tent, and the tent hit me in the face.
In the face.
It was kind of nuts. But it was really great overall.
Well, I'm really glad you had a good time at Oshkosh, and you were able to meet some really cool people, meet some of our fans. Cool things. So
very cool things.
Until next year.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya, Oshkosh.
So I hear that Trevor had some fun and exciting flying experiences and may have some congratulations in order.
Thank you, Jim. I finally, after what seemed like years, got my multi-commercial.
Yay!
Sweet. And it sounds like it wasn't without some challenges.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's hear about it.
So the oral was much less than oral, but it was actually a really good conversation. We got to the flying portion, and the runway that we had to use, the runway the winds were favoring was too short for us. So we had to take off with almost a direct crosswind, threading the needle with inbound and outbound, so arrivals and departures for the favored runway in a non-controlled airport with a highly congested airspace. Yeah, really nailed my short field landing, which is actually pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks, Seth Lake, for being my designated pilot examiner.
Well, congratulations again, Trevor. I am excited that you got that rating under your belt, and we'll look forward to continuing successes from you as you wrap up your school in Arkansas. All right, let's do some news. Onward with the news. Take it away, you two.
The EAA has finally crunched all the numbers, and they had record-breaking attendance this year, even more than 2019 and 2021. This year, 650,000 people went to Oshkosh, which is 42,000 more than 2021. And even in 2019, only 642,000 people showed up. I say only, like that's a tiny number. But this year, so many people showed up. There was representation from 92 countries, and there was a marriage. There was a couple that got married at Oshkosh and a couple that got engaged on top of a B-25, which is hashtag life goals. So congratulations to those two couples. Very exciting. You can go look. Flying Magazine has an article that details all of the numbers and the economic impact of Oshkosh, because that's something that I've actually never thought about. So pretty cool.
So we're going to stay on the theme of Oshkosh, and we're going to stay in the state of Wisconsin. There is a camp in Wisconsin called Girl Venture, EAA Girl Venture at Oshkosh. Now, This is here to really entice females to really embrace the aviation community, get in there and start their pilot's license, evening up the male versus female numbers. There's about 14,500 openings in the airlines, and we're hoping to get more women in aviation. You know, as we've tried to highlight in this podcast previously, try to get these women in aviation more prominent roles. Overall, there were 83 campers between the ages of 14 and 18, all from different parts of the country. There was STEM activities. One of the presenters was actually a research pilot, Elizabeth Liz Ruth, who actually sat there in her flight suit talking to all these young girls on what it's like to be a aviation pioneer.
On a related note, there is something in the summer every year called Girls in Aviation Day. They're all around the country. So if you don't go to Oshkosh, haven't gone to Oshkosh, don't plan to, you may have a Girls in Aviation Day in your area.
Many people on these social media interwebs really had some fun time talking about the Missouri pilot, or the student pilot that ran out of gas and landed his plane on the Missouri highway. Apparently, the guy was accused of a DWI. It should be more like FWI, flying under the influence. Pilot who was hospitalized with minor injuries after he hit a guardrail. He had marijuana, which is not a good thing. But then he had a gun. I don't know why the gun is a big deal, but I mean, let's be honest.
While under the influence, not wise to carry.
I agree. The student pilot, he landed on the highway after he flew without gas. It was a Piper Cherokee, landed about 2:45 in the morning on I-70 near Grain Valley, which is about 20 miles east of Kansas City. In other news, there is now an airplane for sale. That's an insurance salvage, more than likely. May or may not have marijuana in it.
Maybe get that checked out first.
Yes.
A couple weeks ago, Kansas officials and congressional leaders celebrated the unveiling of a statue of aviation pioneer Amelia Earhart in the U.S. Capitol. So this is a bronze statue that they put up to inspire the future generations to become pilots. Amelia Earhart, she disappeared in 1937. She did make a successful transatlantic flight before this, but she actually did land in Washington, D.C. at one point, which was kind of cool. The purpose of this, each state gets to select 2 individuals from their state to be represented in the National Statuary Hall collection. Amelia Earhart was born and raised in Atchison, which is a small town in the northeast of Kansas. She is still today one of the most recognizable and celebrated aviators of all time. The statue rests on limestone from the Flint Hills of Kansas, and it's said to be viewed by 2 to 3 million visitors from around the world each year.
Hey, let's talk about Illinois. For many aviators, Illinois has not really been known as the greatest bastion of aviation, considering Mayor Daley's assault on aviation back in Chicago Meigs Field. But Illinois Aviation System Plan is a blueprint for airport growth, which is actually kind of cool because in this plan, the governor, J.B. Pritzker, proclaimed August, so this month, as Aviation Appreciation Month in the state of Illinois. That's actually kind of cool because, you know, we have so much money that's designated to a lot of these public airports, public and private airports, and this improvement system showing how to rebuild airports and things like that. There was a analysis done on 85 public use facilities and 4 private airports for a total of 85. It basically talks about the DOT's long range transportation plan. Airports are, you know, they're a non-renewable resource, and basically talks about, you know, the $77.8 million that's given across all the major roads and whatnot, given back to the airports. And keep it up, Illinois. Keep growing aviation.
We have Meigs Field back.
Please.
Please.
Hey, Jim. Do we have some events?
We sure do have some events to talk about. Let's jump into those. We'll have the Shawano, Wisconsin Airport Flying and Car Show. They're expecting to have some classic antique Warbird and other aircraft, as well as skydivers and some other surprises.
I like surprises.
I do too. Food and beverage will be on site. There will be some entry and parking fees. If you would like some more information, go ahead and shoot them an email at info@shawanoairport.com. If you're not able to make it to Wisconsin that day, you can head on over to Illinois. At 11 a.m. that same day, they'll have the Coles County Municipal Airport Air Show 22. Promises to be a non-stop day of fun. Gates open at 11 a.m. and show runs from noon to 3. This year's entertainment includes U.S. Air Force A-10 demo team, the T-6 Spanish Lady, as well as a number of static displays. They're also going to have a number of aircraft available for rides, including a UH-1 Huey, Cobra helicopter, B-25, T-6s, and much more. Looks like an exciting event, so if you're out in Illinois, go check that out. And for those of you in Indiana, We have an event for you Saturday, August 20th as well. 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., there will be lunch at the airport at the Hendricks County Airport in Avon, Indiana. They'll have hot air balloons, fire and sheriff's office vehicles on display, Lifeline helicopter, RC airplane demonstrations, and discovery flights. Lunch will be served from 11 to 2. Adults is $8. Children aged 7 to 12 are $5. Children 6 and under are free. Saturday, August 27th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., the 2022 Meadow Creek Air Park Fly-In Drive-In Open House. Saturday, August 27th, we will have the Paynesville 2022 Air Show. It will include a fly-in, underwing camping, a flower drop contest, airplane rides, static displays, and so much more. It won't be as much of a underwing camping event as Oshkosh, but it could still be fun nonetheless. And finally, Labor Day weekend, there is the Cricket Grooms Annual Fly-In. It's Sidnaw, Michigan. Airport identifier is 6 Yankee 9. That event will include pilots camping overnight as well. This is another opportunity to socialize with your fellow aviators. And from what I've heard, this is the airport that your flight instructor warns you about. It's a turf runway, it's a short field, it's a soft field, and it's got 50-foot trees on either end of the runway. So if you're up for the challenge, come on out to that event and fly in, camp in, and enjoy a good time.
Hey, Jim, what do we have for our episode today?
So in this episode, we talk with Cole Finley and Brittany Griffin about their charitable fly-ins that they've had at the Columbia Regional Airport down in Missouri. Unfortunately, when we recorded this interview, Maddie was a little under the weather, so it's just me and Trevor having a chat with those two and learning about how they came up with their concept and what they plan to do in the future. So we talked about Cole and Brittany in a previous podcast as it pertains to some of the really cool fly-ins that they've done down in Columbia Regional, as far as some food drives, things of charitable nature, things like that. And we were pretty inspired by it. At one point, we were reading a news article about it, and I had challenged our fans to find Cole so that we could talk to him. And I cheated and I did some detective work and I found him on my own. But at any rate, we're really happy to have you both.
Yes,
thank
absolutely.
you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
If either of you have listened to the podcast before, then you know that we typically start with kind of 5 rapid fire questions to get everyone loose, whether it be us, you guys, and just to have a good time. So how we're going to do this is you're both allowed to answer. I think, well, here's what we'll do. I'll ask the question and then you both can answer it. And then Trevor and I will secretly judge you, or maybe not so secretly, as to who has the better answer.
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right. Question number 1. What is the best part of Midwest aviation? And this is a very open-ended question. This could be anything.
Yep.
It is the small town feel. No matter where you're going, where you're flying at in the Midwest, you're bound to know somebody somewhere and you just feel like you're at home, no matter where you go to.
That's probably the number 1 answer. I don't even know if you need to answer, Cole, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I've maybe throwing like a comparison. It really is. It's like a spider web. You know, you jump from, say here in Columbia to, somebody knows somebody in St. Louis who knows somebody in, Bloomington, Illinois, who knows somebody, and it just continues to move whichever direction you want. Yeah,
that for such a, theoretically big community, it gets small really fast when you start figuring out people that you're all connected with. So.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. And we're social people, so.
Right. We literally talk, for a living, so we're good at it.
Right.
There you go. This is a common question that we ask, but I'm going to put a spin on it. What is the worst aviation movie that's out there? Typically, I ask the best or what's your favorite or what's your favorite movie quote. We're going to go worst this time. What's the worst aviation movie you can think of?
Horizon Line.
It's right. Garbage. If they're that bad, have we even really heard of them? If they're truly that bad, man, that's a good question. I'm not going to pull a Waterloo Jack and be like, okay, I need to come back on that one, but I might have to.
Okay. Brittany, you got one?
You have an answer?
I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this one, but Midway. I did not enjoy that one at all.
We'll allow it. As long as you didn't say airplane, we'll allow it.
Oh, that's number 1.
All right, Brittany gets to stay.
I have to refrain from making airplane jokes on a daily basis out here.
That's a lot of us, I think.
I am serious.
Don't call her Shirley. Her name's Brittany. All right, Cole, I'm going to give you a pass and we can come back to it. How about that? Unless you got one.
No, not at the moment. We'll go to number 3, and
All right,
I might have to wrap up. We'll see.
Fair enough. Number 3. What is a fantasy aircraft? If you could own any aircraft, what would it be?
Oh Lord, have
Or even
mercy.
just fly it once. You don't have to, because ownership comes with a lot of responsibility that not a lot of people want to take
Yeah,
on.
it does.
Flying it or flying in it once.
P-51 Mustang. I just want to fly in one. Just one time.
I like that answer.
Yeah, I'd
Pretty
say,
iconic.
man, I'd have to go with the A-10. You know,
Oh.
the only airframe that it's a flying gun. The only
Yeah.
airframe. Are you kidding me? I
I
mean, so that would be mine.
Yep.
To be able to fly, at super slow speeds, and obviously if you're gonna fly, you have to fire the whatever. I think it's 30mm cannon. So
Oh yeah,
You gotta-
if you're gonna fly it, you might as well get a little
Exactly.
bird out of it.
exactly.
Okay, if there's a person that either of you could meet, aviation related, dead or alive, who would it be?
Any person aviation related, dead or alive. It might be cliche, but I mean, the reason we all do what we do, I mean, the Wright brothers, it'd be pretty interesting to go back in time and see their thought process. And when
Yeah.
you got to imagine, people probably thought they were insane. You know what I mean? Like, you guys are going to do what?
Yeah,
I'd like to, be there, for those conversations, to meet those guys. And I mean, obviously, clearly they were determined because they got it done. So
yep.
yeah, I'd say the Wright brothers.
And I don't know if anyone has actually said that answer yet before. So
I don't think so.
Good deal.
Trailblazer. All right, here comes the last one. Are you ready? This is going to apply to you a little bit more, Cole, than Brittany, but I'll allow Brittany to have an opinion as well. What radio phrase makes you cringe?
I have a few, but I'm going to let you go first.
No, go ahead. I want to hear this. So I know.
Well, we already talked. I don't know if we were recording yet or not, but the second Waterloo Jack, the with you, the classic, saying you have ATIS Victor, for instance, when that's not the current ATIS, and you're the classic, you're requesting to taxi to a runway that's closed or a taxiway intersection that's closed. I'm like, okay, I know you're lying. I'm not going to call you out on it, but I'm just going to simply ask that you go get the current information and come back to me. But yeah, I'd say those two were probably the biggest ones. We're a small airport, so really don't have too many crazy ones.
Brittany, what do you got?
I don't know if it's so much just phrases as it is habits. You hear those ones that will, you'll hear the guys over there on the radio calling out to an aircraft, and then they just don't want to repeat anything back, or they get it all mixed up, or they, just those little habits. Like, come on, guys, you've been doing this long enough now. You should know the routine of this at this point. New students, I can understand, but there's some of those pilots that have been out there for years that just don't want to follow the rules of the radio.
Gotcha.
I'm going to be with you 100% on that. I couldn't tell you how many heart attacks I've almost had just by people just flying around idiotically.
Or the lack thereof. I mean, the lack of communication.
Yes.
Yes.
I remember, I think it was a week ago, I had the opening shifts, and we could probably get into that later, but we close at night. We're not a 24-hour facility. And I'm calling my overlying approach control, getting a debrief of, who's on the ground, who's got a clearance already, what the flow board's looking like. And all of a sudden, I just hear this, run up of a prop. And I'm like, okay, we're like 3/4 mile away from the ramp. And that's way, I've been here for a few years, so it sounds way louder than it should be. And as I'm on the headset, talking to our approach, I, see this aircraft go rotating off the runway. No call, no nothing. And I'm just like, man, that's how people get killed. Like, you just cannot do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to get us started with the topic of today's episode, which is the two of you and the charitable fly-ins that you've hosted. So to get us going, tell us a little bit about your backgrounds in aviation first.
So I actually started over at American Airlines as a ramp agent down there at the commercial terminal here. And about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, I hop, skipped, and jumped on down the line and was a line tech down here at Columbia Jet Center, and just doing a little bit of everything. I work behind the desk. I do the charter operations. I do the event planning. I started taking some flying lessons, but everything else just got in the way that haven't been able to get back up there yet.
So I guess my background starts 2012. I joined the Army. I am a former U.S. Army Air Traffic Controller, 15 Quebec, for any of those others listening. Was in the Army for 6 years. Went not all over the place. Originally joined wanting to deploy. I'm like, if I'm going to join the Army, I want to go all in. I want to deploy to a combat environment. Fortunately, or maybe unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, never had that opportunity, but I did get to travel. First duty station was in South Korea. Was in a tactical unit down there, so we did a lot of South Korean and U.S. Army alliance missions and training missions and things of that nature. Got orders to go to Fort Hood, Texas next, and spent the rest of my career there. Pretty good experience overall, and in all honesty, that being at that unit and that location set me up for where I am today. In the Army, majority of your controllers are going to go tactical. We have 4 tactical systems, 2 radar and 2, essentially what you would consider tower. And I was assigned to one of those tower teams and just loved it. Loved, being able to see and see the big picture of the airspace. At Fort Hood, I was able to get assigned to Hood Army Airfield and work at Hood Tower, where I got my first CTO. After that, came back down to the tactical unit. We got orders and notification that we were going to Europe. Split our unit up into 2 teams. I took a team to Latvia. Had a great group of guys and gals out there. Worked with the Latvian Air Force. Got to see a lot of really old, cool aircraft. The Latvian Air Force actually still flies an old AN-2. They'll do airborne operations out of it, like practice airborne operations out of it. So great experience. Then I got out, started with the company I work for now, which is Midwest ATC, was assigned to Bloomington, Illinois. And again, that place just set me up for more success to where I am now. Great little airport, busy little airport, and a great tower manager and a team of controllers up there that just really got me to where I am today. And then by the grace of God, I was only with that facility for 6 months, and still to this day don't know how it happened, but the controller leaving here, whose spot I ended up taking, somehow got my number, called me. I was on shift and had a missed call after I got off. I had a text message that said, "Hey, I know you don't know this person, but my name's John. I'm a controller in Columbia. I heard you're from here," which I am. Columbia's in this mid-Missouri area, is my hometown. I'm leaving, and I wanted to afford you the opportunity to, throw your hat in the ring for a transfer. And yeah, long story short, I was transferred within like a month and a half, and they're stuck with me now because I'm not going anywhere.
Nice.
Nice.
We're okay with that, though. We keep telling him he's not allowed to leave anymore.
That's better than
you're
the
locked
opposite.
in.
Like, are you going to move or transfer anytime soon? Just
No.
asking for a friend.
That's right.
I had a few pilots that panicked when they thought that he was leaving because of a part-time job he was taking outside of here. I'm like, no, he's not going anywhere. We're not going to let him. We'll duct tape him to a chair if we have to.
Yeah, I'm not leaving.
That's a good vote of confidence too. Though they're willing to duct tape you to chairs and commit felonies to keep you there.
I'll take that as a positive note, I guess.
There you go.
Oh, absolutely.
So, how did you two come up with these events?
So the food flight was actually more his brainchild here, but he kind of approached us that we're here at the Jet Center asking about using our facilities. And okay, but I'll let him talk about how he kind of came up with the idea.
Yeah, it was, so we're I guess if you want to call it post-COVID at this point, to where, gatherings are becoming a regular thing again. And I had the morning shift. We were getting ready to do shift change, and I was talking to another controller of ours, and literally just had like a seed of thought sprout. I was like, why are we not doing any fly-ins here? We're between two major metro areas, three really if you count Springfield, because it's only about an hour flight in, a Cherokee or a Cessna from Springfield. I'm like, why are we not doing this? Why are we not capitalizing on, gatherings becoming again, more often again?
Well, boost your numbers too.
Right. Boost, traffic numbers. It's fantastic exposure for the Jet Center, and mentioned it to him, and he was like, yeah, go for it. So literally called Brittany on my way home, and I was like, hey, I have this crazy idea. And yeah, she was like, I'm completely on board. Let's do it.
Yep. Let me know what you need and what I can do, and we'll get this happening.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so what was the planning process like?
Yeah, so that was kind of, the idea. I'm like, okay, any grocery store really, ball game, college stadium, something like that, you'll see like those food bin collection points, that most people in and out of a grocery store, in and out of a stadium, are really just going to walk by and be like, you know what, that's a great cause, but, I'm trying to get in and out of the grocery store or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, why not number one, had to contact the food bank for Central and Northeast Missouri, which is located here in Columbia. When I present the idea to them, of course, it's brand new to them. They're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. They were all on board. Again, just like Brittany said, they said, whatever you need. So then it was, okay, let's talk about logistics. And that's really where Brittany came in. Can we use a hangar for a collection point? She's like, yes, absolutely.
We have a little event hangar that we use for those charter operations, and that's perfect. Why couldn't we use that for these fly-in events, So we've got that there set up with tables, chairs, food collection bins. We've got that figured out. Let's figure out our peak flight times of the day so we can figure out when we can get the most traffic in here for this next.
And that one was, if my memory serves me correctly, it was the third weekend in March, which here in Missouri, it can be like 75 and sunny, blue, crystal clear bluebird day, or it's snowing, one of the two. Or both, yeah. So that was really one gamble. I think I originally came up with the idea like mid to late February. We're all looking forward to spring. Like, oh my gosh, I'm ready for traffic to pick back up. I think February is typically our slowest month, just because of weather. Yeah, that was kind of a major gamble. The first day, it was very, very windy. I do remember that. I think we had like northwest winds gusting up to 20, 25 knots, but we still had a great turnout. Yeah. We really did.
We weren't sure entirely what to expect either, with it being our very first event. We threw this together, in 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks.
It was just kind of a fly by the seat of our pants. Let's work this out. Let's see what we can get done.
Yeah, and kind of as an incentive, I guess, for the pilots. If a pilot reads a flyer and says, okay, yeah, that's great, a food drive, but. And not to sound selfish, but what's in it for me? What's in it for me to make it worth my time? So I'd even reached out, being Columbia is a city of anywhere from 100 and 120,000 just in that one city. So I started contacting food trucks to see if they'd be willing to come out and set up. If guys fly in, we don't have a restaurant here at the FBO yet. Guys flying from Kansas City, St. Louis, wherever in the state. Grab a bite to eat, stretch their legs, talk with other pilots, swap information, and then, head back home.
And then also part of that, from our standpoint here at the Jet Center, we were waiving any and all ramp fees that day for anybody that brought food donations, and also giving discounted prices on our low lead fuel rates.
Nice.
Just to incentivize people to come on out and join.
That's an incentive on its own.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. An opportunity for fuel. Discounted fuel, no ramp fee, food, and, you feel good about it at the end of the day when you're bringing, a dozen cans of whatever. So, yeah, all in all, a great success. Again, if my memory serves me correctly, I think we're at 550 to 600 pounds of food.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then enough cash donation to provide 900 meals.
Oh, wow.
900 meals. What's really cool is the fact that, like, right now we're seeing a lot of inflation and cost of food and all that stuff going up. Having events like this is really key for communities, because I mean, I hear it on the news all the time. Oh, this food pantry is running out of supplies. Families aren't able to provide the way they were able to, even a year ago. So
Yeah.
kudos to you guys, pulling this off.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
awesome.
and kind of like you and I, Trevor, were talking before, aviation and, private flying in general, I think is so often seen as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
But while you're participating in that hobby, why not use, your plane or your FBO or whoever the plane belongs to, utilize that resource to, help your state, help your community. I don't know. It just has a bigger reach, I guess, than, having a collection bin in front of a grocery store for one or two people.
Well, it's humbling. I mean, if you have an immediate impact into somebody's life. I mean, a great example is it was back in 2017, and this guy, this particular example kind of sticks out in my mind, in that he flew out of Lakeville, Minnesota, which is not too far from Hormel. If you guys know Hormel, if you guys know Spam, you know Hormel.
Right.
They're the Spam manufacturers. He flew a Cirrus full, jam-packed, like maxed out his weight and fuel, carrying Spam down to one of those places down in Texas. Yeah, just a plane full of Spam.
That's a huge trip too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a huge trip, but it was all donated too by Hormel.
Wow.
And so being able to really reach out to the community and say, hey, look, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
It's awesome. Your reward is going to be great.
And you see it, in those emergency situations, hurricanes and floods and tornadoes, any natural disaster, with the military, with the National Guard, with, them using, Chinooks and Blackhawks and, C-130s for super long trips to take this cargo, but you can scale that down and, you don't have to call in the National Guard. You can do it yourself.
It's more of an experiment on our end. Is this going to work out, and can we make it work out, and how can we do better in the future?
Yeah.
You guys mentioned 600 pounds or so of food, but do you know how many aircraft you brought in for that event?
If I remember correctly, for that particular event, we brought in roughly about 30 aircraft. There was some that were actually already here on the ramp and happened to watch our newscast on it the night before. When they came out the next morning to leave, they participated in it as well.
Oh, that's cool too.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned, with that first day, with gusty winds being such a major factor.
Oh, sure.
That really kind of cut down on the traffic. But we do have a local flight group not too far from here at all. I think about 25 or 30 driving miles. Mm-hmm. The Daniel Boone Flying Club out of Booneville, Missouri, and they drove. They either drove or had one or two guys, brave the winds who needed, cross training or whatever, and came in for the event.
So how did this blossom into another event?
It was just kind of sitting back, talking about it, and just the experience that it brought to everybody here, just because it was our very first flying event here at the Jet Center in general. And like, what can we do to draw people here? And one of the pilots for a flight club that we have out here had mentioned to Cole about why aren't they doing some kind of regular routine flying event?
Yep.
So Cole and I sat down, started working on the next one. What are we going to do for this next one? I love the charity event behind it. I love the flying event, and people love food. So where are we going with this?
Exactly. Yeah. Really was just kind of riding the wave of, I caught this podcast's eye or ear about it. We did have a couple local news stations come out and cover the event and, air it there. I know other couple blog posts and Maid, Missouri Pilots Association and things of that nature. I think I literally came in after the event was done. I was like, okay, what are we doing the next one?
What's next?
And that's when we thought of the idea. Pancake flyings are obviously very popular amongst
everyone loves pancakes.
Exactly. And so, I was like, you know what? Why don't we do one? And so we kind of looked at the calendar of, when some of the university athletic events were wrapping up and, charters kind of ceased for the year, for the academic year. And that brought us to Mother's Day weekend. So we hosted that pancake fly-in, which was for the Rainbow House of Columbia, which is the children's advocacy center and an emergency shelter for, abused and neglected children. So we figured, okay, that's going to be our next one. We help, families in general. Let's focus on, helping the kids out. Kind of the same process. Contacted them, said, hey, we got this idea, and it was good because it was, on the tailcoat of the food drive. It was fresh in the news. It was fresh in everybody's minds. Oh yeah, we just saw that, on the news or in the newspaper or whatever, and we ran with it. Of course, and clearly they were accepting of the donations. So yeah, the only gamble with that one was, man, are people going to want to fly on the Saturday before Mother's Day?
Then we thought free food, and flying.
Exactly.
Two pilots' favorite F words.
That's exactly right.
Free and food.
Free and food.
Yep.
And we had all of those there.
And no expletive needed.
Exactly. But looking back at that one, and I'm not trying to compare the two because there were two great events for two great causes.
Sure.
But the pancake fly-in, it absolutely blew the brakes off of the food drive.
Poor Cole was just back there flipping pancakes and stuff. 2 hours.
So,
and
yeah.
He had a coworker come over that was flipping some bacon and sausage.
Yeah. So I took a day off of a half day off of work to come over, and I borrowed a griddle from a family member, actually from my mom and dad. I think Dad was out of town on drill, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not using it. Go for it." Because originally I was gonna let him know. I wasn't even really gonna ask him. Say, "Hey, Dad, I need your help this weekend, Mother's Day weekend. We're going to cook some pancakes for some pilots." But he was like, "I can't, I have drill." So that led to me, of course, when I was clearing all this with my ATM, my air traffic manager, Mark Stemple, great guy. He's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "I'm off on Saturday, so I'll come over and help you." And
nice.
We were busy.
Well, we did have a VIP member show up that found out about it beforehand. Mizzou's head coach, Coach Drinkwitz, found out and brought his family out that morning before they were traveling.
Cool.
So I think that helped contribute to a lot of the traffic that we saw, which we are not complaining about.
Nope.
And also the fact that we were helping out, not just with the Rainbow House, but Cole reached out to like Crane's Meat Processing here. It's a very local meat processing facility here. They donated some of the food to the drive. B&B Bagel, he reached out to them. They donated some coffee for us so that we could serve some hot coffee. So it was very local. It was very community oriented. And that's what we were striving for with that one. How can we help our community in every way?
I love that, especially bringing the rest of the community into it as well, getting other businesses to contribute. And I have a bit of a soft spot for children's advocacy, which is part of why when you did your second one, I'm like, oh, I got to talk to these guys. This is awesome.
Well, good. I'm glad that it caught your eye. And
no, I just think it's great when you can involve the community as well. And not only that, but it shows that the aviation community is part of that community too. Because a lot of people are just like, oh, there's an airport over there, but they don't really understand what comes with that and the great people that are within the aviation community and how we can contribute to the overall benefit of everybody too, not just we're out there flying and making noise.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Cole's kind of our people person. So he was the one reaching out to the different FBOs and the different airports and the different flying clubs and saying, hey guys, we got this going on. You want to come out and help contribute to it?
And it worked. It really did. We had people from
Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois. So across, St. Louis, Kansas City sit on the borders. And yeah, we had people from across the borders and state lines in both those states, very rural areas of Missouri, more populated areas of Missouri. Even our local pilots that are, fly out of here drove up. Again, the head football coach decided to come in and get a plate for his family. So yeah, it was awesome.
How many airplanes do you think you served?
That one, we had the numbers actually pulled up. We actually kept track of that one.
I think at this one we had over 25. So the food drive was a 2-day event, 4 hours each, so 8 hours total.
Yep.
The pancake flying was only a 4-hour event, and had 25 aircraft fly in from all over the place for that one. Not to mention all of the airline employees here on the airfield, TSA agents, CJC, FBO employees, tower personnel, clearly, because myself and my boss were there.
Yeah.
It was it was awesome.
It's rewarding when we can highlight the good things that we're helping the community.
Yep.
That actually sheds a whole bigger light as to what an aviation community can actually do.
Well, thank you.
And then for that event, I believe for Rainbow House, we were able to collect, what was it, $1,200?
Yeah, over $1,200.
$1,200, and they were using that towards their facility upgrades that they were putting in.
Very much
Yeah.
so, very, very much needed. And these youth shelters, they operate on such a shoestring budget. So being able to help those guys out, it definitely makes you a better man.
It does, and it's just exciting to see and bring it to folks who aren't in aviation, bring it to their realization that it's a possibility. Like it's not, aviation just isn't, airlines traveling on vacation or for business or what have you, or, the military. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a hobby that can also be duplicated as a resource if needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love the idea of flying with a purpose. I mean, you got people who fly the same hour over and over and over again, just working their pattern or their practice area at their airport. But to expand your opportunities of where you can go and be able to contribute to other people's lives is, I think, a really great thing about aviation too.
100%.
That was kind of our mindset also. What reason can we give folks to fly and come here and visit us at the Jet Center and at Columbia Regional side?
So when's the next one?
There you go. That's the big question. What's next?
We just started kind of brainstorming this one. We're looking at, it's going to be kind of our big blowout event for the rest of the year. We're looking at the end of September. We're looking at involving the entire airport out here because our airport is so small. So we've got the commercial terminal next door with the police officers. We've got the Jet Center here with our flight instructors. We got the tower right across. We all work together. Mm-hmm. So we have kind of tossed around the idea of having a friendly chili cook-off competition between the departments with having 2 different charities here to sponsor. And one of them is a women's shelter. I'm not going to throw their name out there just yet, but it is a women's emergency shelter. And then help me out with this one, Cole. What was the name?
Yeah, I'll throw their name out there for this one. It is Missouri River Relief. So as you've seen, we've focused on, food banks and food shelters, and helping the kids out, and which are all fantastic causes, and I could not be happier that we did it. But I do think that especially this day and age, that conservation and preserving what resources we do have kind of get overlooked. So Missouri River Relief, they're a volunteer-based organization that goes out and cleans up the Missouri River, and cleans up trash from floodwaters, and just anything that trickles down from your creek that goes into a larger creek, and really just kind of that watershed.
Let's just be honest, it's the garbage from Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, keep it up there, all right? Save us some work down here.
Right?
Well, now I feel obligated to come.
Yeah, you absolutely should.
All of our dirty garbage coming down the rivers and polluting Missouri. I'll think about it.
Yeah. Then when you get here, you can cook some chili and throw your hat in the ring to see if you win.
I will not. I can guarantee you that. End of September, you guys are looking. We obviously will highlight the hell out of it when you guys have a date. So let us know, and we'll make sure to plug that and try to get some people there.
It would be cool to see some people, come down from Minnesota or Iowa, or really anybody in the Midwest or even in the South. I don't care where they come from.
What's your identifier?
Kilo Charlie Oscar uniform. If you're a say no to Kilo guy, Charlie Oscar uniform.
Say no to Kilo. I haven't heard that in forever.
Say no to That's awesome. Hey Jim, it's only 3 hours and 30 minutes.
You just looked it up too?
Yeah.
3:41 from where I'm at. But I fly the slow downer, so it's going to take me a minute to get there. So just be patient.
You get here, we'll take care of you.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, let us know. We will see if that's something we can work out.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll I'll once we finalize things and get those charities nailed down, and on board, I plan on starting to create the flyer, and that's one thing that we're going to do a little different with this one, is do a little more promo for it, because the last one really we didn't. It was almost entirely word of mouth. Your aviator Facebook groups, they probably look at me like, what is this controller doing in here? Let's kick him out. I'm trying to tell you about some chances to come in and fly in our airport. So yeah, word spreading clearly did, because it even made it across state lines for just our second event. So
if it happens to occur while I'm on my way back up, I'm going to stop in with my trailer and I'll camp there for the night.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect. We got a bunch of beautiful campgrounds and national forests here too.
No, I'm parking at the airport.
Oh, perfect.
I'm parking in the hangar.
I don't think you understand. I'll be at your airport. Be ready.
You're good to go.
Is there anything else that you guys want to add on these events, either the past ones or your future one, before we move on to the next part?
Starting next year, we are going to host a fly-in event once a month, probably April through October.
Wow.
They're all a charity-driven event as well. So I told Cole about that. I was excited, and I'm already brainstorming all the ideas. I've got lists. I've got groups that I want to get in touch with. So we are looking forward to next year, just really going full force with this.
Yeah, we're trying to really make it charity focused, but also, if we can, like we did with that second one, is include other local businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, are you two prepared for our final segment? This is all about what is your unpopular aviation opinions?
Unpopular. Give me an example. So
All right.
not like way out in left field.
Mine is I don't like the FAA's rules on some of their medical stuff. So,
Which is not really unpopular, but
it's my opinion all the same.
it is your opinion all the same.
A coworker that called them the folks against aviation. So
Folks against aviation, I love it.
That's pretty good.
Oh, that's
This
funny.
podcast will be shut down in a week as soon as we say that.
Cut that out.
yeah.
Don't let that make it too
Challenge
fun.
accepted.
No, we might try it. Like, well, you can process that awfully quick. Sorry, FAA.
This is coming from the point of view of a line tech.
That's fine. We'll hear it.
Absolutely.
That's totally a part of aviation.
Let it rip.
We don't set the fees. We don't set the fuel prices. Please do not come screaming and hollering at us because of insurance policies that are requiring us to collect a ramp fee from you. I get it that agents are some of the first people that you see when you fly into an airport, but we're not the ones to yell at.
That's actually some good information too, because I don't know if a lot of people put a lot of thought into why does this airport have a ramp fee.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, this damn airport has a ramp fee, and then you begrudgingly pay it and you move on. But that's a good point.
It's like paying shipping for something that you know you're going to order anyway. So you just
Yeah, well, right. I'm gonna pay you, but I'm not happy about it.
I'm not happy about it, but here you go. Here's my credit card.
Yeah, it's business.
From a controller perspective, and I think the ATIS thing, trust me, if I didn't catch it in your initial transmission, I'm sorry. I have to ask again. But God forbid something happened and they start an investigation. That is the first thing that they ask us controllers is, did they have the ATIS? So don't get mad at me for asking again if I didn't catch it, or if it just changed, like literally just broadcasted the new one and you have the old one. I'm sorry. Go listen to my voice again. Again, I'm sorry. Just
Go
get
take
it.
your 30 seconds of airplane running time and go listen to ATIS.
Exactly. And I don't like reading or listening or recording those NOTAMs any more than you guys like reading them or listening to them. But we all have to do it, okay?
And I'm not trying to suck up or anything, but I would rather, if I don't have the right one, or if say that I've had this a few times at my local airport where I'm flying in and I picked up the ATIS right before they switch. I mean, you get to a point where you know when they're switching, so you try to wait, but there's times that I'm not paying attention to the clock as I'm flying back in. And they go, well, we just, information Yankees now current. I would rather have that than our old information that you published earlier. I think it's all a team process with every aspect of the flight, whether it be the line crews, the people in the tower, the pilots themselves, flight crews. They're all an important part of that process. So
One other thing, I didn't think I'd have more than one, but I do.
Bring it on.
Would be, from a controller's perspective, I would much rather you ask me once, twice, 3 times. I may sound frustrated, or, another controller may sound frustrated, but I would much rather you ask me, hey, tower, just to verify I'm cleared to cross runway 20. Yep, cross runway 20 at whatever. Rather than the instruction was to hold short and you think you were, told to cross or whatever. I'd much rather you ask and then us have, a situation in your hands and have to go down a more serious rabbit hole with that.
Sure.
Right.
Great points.
Well, Jim, I don't have anything else. Do you have
I
anything?
was just going to ask that. Do you two have anything else for us?
Just keep an eye out on, what we have coming down the pipe. We'll obviously be sending it to you guys.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We really want to share what you guys are doing. So
Yep.
Brittany, if you want to plug the
I'd
social medias.
say I've been slowly trying to build up our social media presence. It's still a new world to me because I'm not a social media type of person, but I'm working on it. So we do have a Facebook page, Columbia Jet Center. And then we also have an Instagram that is at Columbia Jet. And I've actually started pulling in a neighbor down the way at the airport here who is going to help me maintain and really lift that Instagram page up to get it out there for everybody to see the presence of us out here.
Steven.
Mhm.
He's a heck of a photographer. He's, if I may, I will plug his Instagram because
he's gotten some very great shots just
he's
here at the airport
great.
even.
Yeah, Steven Stein is Instagram handle, if you will, is SJS Aviation, Sierra Juliet Sierra Aviation. Great photographer. You can, kind of see some of the stuff we have coming in and out of Columbia as well. We do get some unique stuff. Yeah, can't thank you guys enough for having us on. It's been a blast. Great conversation, and
Yeah, we're looking to have you guys on again and tell us even more of all the cool stuff that's going on. Well, we appreciate your guys' time tonight.
No, thank you guys.
yes, thank you.
Well, thank you both so much. We're really glad that this worked out, and we wish you the best of luck in your future events.
Alrighty.
Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Have
y'all.
a great
All
Sunday
right, take
night.
care, guys.
Thank you as well.
See ya. Hey, Maddie, welcome back.
Hi, thanks. I'm feeling better now.
Hey, that's great to hear. We can't have a good podcast without you. So
Aww.
It's true. We get we get off topic. We need someone to supervise us.
so with that, Jim, what do we have for our next episode?
On our next episode, we're going to have the folks with Angel Flight Central join us. They run a volunteer-based flight program offering free flights to those in need around all of the Midwest.
Angel Flight's one of those really good organizations. I've known a lot of pilots that have been a part of it, and a lot of our pilots that fly with Aerobridge are also flying with Angel Flight too. So great organization. I'm actually looking forward to this conversation.
So before we wrap up, just want to tell you we're making some updates to our website. We have some merchandise that we're starting to work on. When that is complete and available, we will push that out to you on all of our social media platforms so you can check out some Flying Midwest podcast merch.
Hey, I like
We got
that.
merch now. Woo! Does this mean finally we're a real podcast?
I think it does. It does. And you'll like the slogan on the back of the shirts. It's just going to say podcast service terminated, frequency change approved. See ya.
See ya. See ya.
That's not the
That's
end.
not
Don't,
how
don't turn it
we're
off yet.
gonna
Don't turn it
end it.
off. Don't turn it off. We have a couple more things to say. So as always, if you have any feedback for the podcast, you can reach out to us on any of our social media platforms or email us at flyingmidwestpodcast@gmail.com.
So guys, until next time.
See ya.
See ya. See ya.
Flight Jet 536, contact Minneapolis Center 132.35 today.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Flying Midwest podcast. Until next time, podcast service terminated, squawk VFR, frequency change approved. Good day.
Did you hear that somebody actually made a plasma whatchamacallit thing?
The lightsaber?
Star Wars thingamajigger?
Yeah, a lightsaber.
Lightsaber. Whatever.
Ever you're truly a disappointment to nerds everywhere. Jim, I'm sorry. This episode is going to be an absolute disaster. to
Oh,
edit.
that's all right. I have a ton of things to do this weekend. I'm sure it'll be fun.
Off the news and weather.
And the biggest news story we
Weather
have
now?
is... Yeah, we're going to do weather now. We're just going to read ATIS reports from different airports.
Weather on the line.
It's called I have to lay down to go drink water because it's on the floor. And my bed's, not on.
You look like
You have like a-
vampire. You look like a vampire just went. Whoa.
But I want to go back here. None of what you said just made sense. You have to lay down because you have to drink your water, which is on the floor. Do you
Yeah,
have like
I
a
can't
leak
grab it
that
from
there's like a
here.
puddle there, or
Yes, I lap it up
Puddle-
like a freaking dog.
puddle and a straw, and that's how Maddie's getting her water. She's got some flooding.
Yes. Score one for Trevor.
Yep. I'll put it on the board. It's on the board.
Allow it.
You seem very reluctant to allow it, but too late. It's on the board. It's on the mythical imaginary board I have in
It's
front
a
of me.
unicorn.
Yeah, it's like a unicorn. Points for
unicorn.
Trevor are like unicorns. They don't exist.
It's not Airventure anymore. It's in the books. It's done. It'll be a Phoenix next year.
No, it'll be in Oshkosh next year, not Phoenix. It's too hot in Phoenix.
I hate that I laughed at that. That makes me mad.
It was so terrible. We crossed through many Midwestern states, and it was a good time.
Did you breathe the air?
I held my breath through Flint, Michigan, but for the rest of it, we were all right.
Trevor is wrong. Okay.
Oshkosh. Go ahead, Manny.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, Oshkosh.
Oh my gosh, Kosh. There. Even more than two.
At 11 p.m., they will have the Coles County Memorial Air. Oh, wow.
You and me both, bucko. You're not that special.
Saturday, nope, not October. Saturday,
That'll be
October.
next one.
I said October again. What?
He said October again.
I know I
That'll be
did. Because you started talking and threw me off. That's why I screwed it up, not because I screwed it up by myself.
What's called the National frick, yikes.
I'm trying to figure out how I should word this next question for you. Essentially,
I like your wording on it.
okay. I'm going to use that then. He can see my notes, so we have shared notes that we have. So
Trevor's like a mind reader, man. This is incredible.
he's good, but he's not that good.
Oh my gosh, Kosh.